All right, let's see what Jordan from 7/7 of 2024 had to say.
It felt like my whole history had been erased. I would literally sit for hours and hours just trying to remember stuff, and I couldn't do it. And I would,
Yes, my memory was so horrible whenever I was going through depersonalization realization. So I remember I had just started a job. This was the second time that I experienced depersonalization realization. And the trainer at this job kept getting very, very upset with me because he would show me kind of where the department was, because you had to walk through like 4 or 5 departments to get to where mine was. And after like a week of training me, I still needed him to show me where the department was. And I'll never forget, he said, "You should know." That's a terrible impersonation. He's like, "Man, you should know where this is by now." That's probably a better impersonation. And I was like, "Man, I'm sorry." But like, my memory was so terrible. And I'm sure in this video, I'll go on to explain why that is.
forget what I did that day, even or the day before. My memory was the worst. And that's because in a trauma state, your memory transitions from registering as explicit narrative based memory to implicit procedural memory.
Yep.
And so, what that essentially translates into is you're not really going to be able to recall situations and have this kind of cohesive narrative of beginning, middle, and end. You're going to be able to remember maybe bits and pieces of it, but or you may not be able to remember anything.
Yeah, and there's a debate over why trauma memory happens, but one theory is that it's a defense mechanism. So that way, if you were to recall a situation in the future, you wouldn't be so overwhelmed by it because you'd only be able to remember bits and pieces of it or have entire gaps in your memory. And memory is very fascinating because technically speaking, our memory actually increases in potency as far as how accurate that it's registered, the more adrenaline that is in our bloodstream, but only up until the point of overwhelm, which is trauma. Okay. So think of it like this. For those of you who are a little bit older, everybody remembers where they were on 9/11. Okay. I was actually home from school that day sick, and all of a sudden I saw the television had the planes crashing into the towers. My brother woke up and he was like, "Oh, I think that's in some foreign country or whatever." But nobody remembers where they were on 9/10. Why? Because adrenaline had increased, right? And it basically imprinted that memory a lot more strong in their memory bank versus if they didn't have that adrenaline. But this is only true up until the point of overwhelm. Once you hit that point of overwhelm, that's whenever you enter the freeze response, and that's whenever your memory fragments. Think of it like a plate that breaks into 1,000 pieces. That's whenever trauma memory happens.